Franks.
Chris Herman.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here on the inaugural show of On Deck.
Welcome, Darren. Thank you. Are on deck. Did you practice that?
I did practice that.
Did you?
Into the mirror. I tried to look as handsome as possible. It's much different when you're in the mirror,
right?
Looking at yourself, because you try to get rid of all the the weird affects and the idiosyncrasies, and you try to make it perfect. And I'm pretty sure, when I see this on camera, I'll look like, Nosferatu or something. God forbid. As handsome as I am. Nobody ever looks the same on camera or sounds how you feel. But, it's... anyway, we were talking about Guinness.
Yes, that's right. Before we started, we were talking about Guinness.
Yes.
So let's pick up there. Why not? Right? I was saying that we always have to have the refrigerator stocked with Guinness here. Mm-hmm. And I was asking you what would be your recommendation for a proper English ale or something that would be more of a regular drinker there?
I like a Guinness, again, because it has really good iron content. That's not the reason I like it. But I find it interesting that it has a good iron content. They used to give it to soldiers during the war because of its iron content. And it tastes great, but it's very heavy. It's like drinking a loaf of bread. On the other side of the spectrum, you got Newcastle Brown Ale,
yes,
which I do like as well.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of stuff you can't get here that you can still get in England. Haven't been in England in 20 years, so... that's a good question for another time, but generally, just if you're going to serve the beer, make sure it's warm and from rusty pipes. That's all I say.
Okay, fair enough. Now, have you been to a Total Wine?
I have been to a Total, yes.
Yeah, because they have almost everything.
They have an amazing selection. Yes, they do. Yes, because Total Wine has. I need to get stuff for my new home, and they have like decanters, and I need stuff in the middle of the table, and. Are we good?
We're good. This is the inaugural, so I guess we're just going to work out the kinks. Like I said,
yes.
Donna just walked by and told me that I should move my mask off the table because I'm not wearing it anymore. So maybe I'll just
there you go.
All right, hold on. I'm going to look at the camera, breaking the rules, Darren. And
breaking the fourth wall.
I'm going to put my mask in my pocket. Is that okay, Donna? Is that better? All right, we get the thumbs up.
Is that because everything that's placed in the scene has to have mise en scène, the placement of objects?
I think my philosophy on this one. We're just going to let it rip and see where it all goes.
I like it. This looks great. It's all professionally set up. We got nice lights. We look good.
Yes, we do.
I think this is going to be awesome.
All right. Well, let's roll. I was thinking about. I guess I should give a little bit of an introduction into what it is that we're actually doing here.
Yes.
This is our first podcast called On Deck. So you, Darren Franks, are the first guest of On Deck with me, Chris Herman.
I'm so happy.
And the desire and my goal with this is for us and for anybody else who may sit in that chair, for us to have interesting conversations.
Yes.
I anticipate that some of them will be interesting and some may not be interesting.
Sometimes, it's good to be unfiltered and not prepare completely.
Right.
And sometimes you can go off on different tangents and it makes for interesting podcasting.
That's right. So we're going to go wherever we want to go, and we're going to jump off. And the things that I was thinking about that I wanted to talk to you, because I feel like there's so much that you and I could just banter about, because you're a fantastic banterer.
Thank you,
right?
sir.
You just boom, boom, boom.
As are you. You make it easy.
So. Thank you. So I just finished watching season 4 of The Crown.
Okay.
Have you watched The Crown?
You know what? People keep telling me. I started to watch it, and I'm so behind on my shows that it's definitely on my list. Mm-hmm. I know they go. Each season is chronological in order of. I know they're on Diana right now.
Yes.
Okay. How was it? I see. I know the story of Diana. That's the thing.
Well, of course you do, but I would imagine that you know it better than I or we here in the States. Even though you are now a U.S. You're a U.S. citizen, right?
Not quite.
No, not quite. Oh, good.
I've had the option to be a citizen for the last 5 years. I've just never got around to filling out the paperwork.
Okay, fair enough.
But listen. I do want to be a citizen because I get to vote, and that's always a good thing,
right?
But it's just I've had the option. My parents are citizens. My sister's a citizen.
All right. Well, let's sidebar that. Not sidebar. Let's set that one aside just for a second, because I do want to ask your questions about The Crown. So The Crown. Yes. Follows the rise and
subsequent
subsequent reign of Queen Elizabeth
Freeloader.
II. right off the bat.
Well, I love how I find I could just talk about the trailer for these shows.
Sure, okay.
Because the trailer of the show makes it out that the queen is all important and she has power. And there was one trailer where they showed the queen and Margaret Thatcher.
Yes.
I want to get political. One of the greatest prime ministers of all time. That was political. But anyway, they're saying that she and Maggie are like equals, but the queen has no power. But they make it, I guess, for dramatic effect. They make it look like they want people to tune in. So I find that is that what they do in the show? Do they make it look like she's powerful? She has no power.
Okay, so
and there was a feud between them, like their age or something.
Well, no, there's a couple things. So let me address a couple of those points. Number one, throughout the entire show, they make it very clear that the queen's position is that she does not comment positively or negatively about any prime minister. Now, she does have an audience with the prime minister every week or two, where there's an update and they communicate. And during that time, the queen will, if she feels necessary, weigh in an opinion or perhaps a suggestion. And so in the episodes with Margaret Thatcher, there was clearly, on the show, they built it up where there was a bit of a struggle between the two of them. You got the sense that Margaret Thatcher did not have a tremendous amount of respect or appreciation for the Queen.
Sure.
And during that time, the Queen also was starting to, on the show, press her influence in certain areas that she did not agree with Margaret Thatcher. Again, on the show, where that fell most clearly was in Margaret Thatcher's refusal to endorse sanctions against South Africa during the time of apartheid. When all the other nations of the Crown, which I can't remember, many African nations and whatever, all supported an effort of sanctions against South Africa to put an end to apartheid, which the Queen apparently supported.
Right.
Margaret Thatcher, she was definitely more of a hawk and was resisting that. So throughout the season 4, there was a lot of this push and pull dynamic between the two of them.
Interesting.
So you get the sense that the Queen recognizes that there's only so far that she can go.
Okay.
But I think to suggest that the Queen has no power, as an outsider, I don't know that is necessarily true as well, because she's still the head of the monarchy, and the monarchy still represents something, right?
Yeah.
Now, whether it has a meaningful influence on the day-to-day lives of the people that live in England, you would be able to give me a much more...
It's great for tourism. People seem to, especially in the United States, they seem to love the royal family. She's more there as a matter of convention,
right?
And pomp and circumstance. That's real. Yes, she might have the prime minister has to go meet with the queen. The first day they're elected, and they have to get along, I guess. But really, she has. I mean, yes, maybe during casual conversation,
ceremonial.
It's ceremonial.
Okay,
it's ceremonial, which it's fine. I get the need for it because it gives us an identity. It's an old school way of looking at a republic. With a queen and a monarchy and all that good stuff. So but yeah, it's definitely on my list to check out more. And the Diana thing, I'm sure there was a good movie a few years ago called The Queen.
Yes.
With Helen Mirren.
Helen Mirren.
Which was really good, and that talked about the whole Diana, thing when she was,
She had a rough go of it. She brought some of it on herself. Right?
Sure.
And they definitely, make that clear that, she was, the mistakes that Diana made was she was young.
Yeah.
And the acclaim and fame that came to her quickly and in huge numbers definitely it definitely filled her with a sense of accomplishment or pride, and there were times I think that she took that enjoyment of that a lot further than the royal family would have liked to, and certainly what it appears that Prince Charles was capable of handling.
Apparently he got very jealous.
Incredibly.
Over her. But he also got some shit too, man. I mean, I don't know how they portray it in The Crown or whatever, but he got a lot of shit for it because, they were both kind of forced into the marriage. That's the whole thing.
Yep.
And he fell in love with this woman, this Camilla Parker Bowles woman.
Yes.
And everyone made fun of her because they said she wasn't attractive. Well, maybe he just loved her. He
did.
So that was it. And Diana was the pretty one.
Yeah, he genuinely loved her, and she didn't fit the storyline necessarily. And it appears that the family, when Diana came along, we're like, oh yeah, she's the one.
Yeah.
This is the deal.
He's a bit of a schmuck, though. But yeah, well, that's a whole other...
Charles?
Charles, yeah. I mean,
well, they certainly paint him out to be a very kind of whiny and entitled and always complaining about things. And he's when you watch him on the show, you almost just want to smack him because he's always like, his head's always hanging.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, for fuck's sake,
I know.
man,
He was an artist. You're struggling. Whatever. That whole family has the world at its feet. It sucked when she died, Diana. I remember distinctly where I was. I was in a hotel room in Orlando. We were about to go to Disney World, and that kind of ruined everything.
Right.
But it was so weird, when she was killed. But that's a whole other.
It's sort of a
surreal.
Yes, in the sense that the fame that was so powerful for her.
Yes.
In a way, is ultimately what killed her. And you get the sense, at least in the show, that she was a solidly decent human being and she wanted the right things and she wanted things to work out, but Charles was just never going to love her, which, you're like, okay, just whatever.
But it's all, all that stuff is hypothesis and conjecture and screenwriters, wanting to make drama out of things, There's three sides to the story. There's side A, there's side B, and the truth is somewhere in between.
That's right.
So I wasn't there, but
No, you weren't?
I wasn't there. Diana just seemed like she was a big pain in the ass, but whatever. No, I'm kidding. I don't know. I didn't know the woman.
All right, let me ask you a question, though. Now that, what I find interesting is, is in reality, Prince Charles has been the longest, what's it called when you're next in line? Heir to the throne.
Heir to the throne, yes.
He's been the heir to the throne for 50, longer, almost his entire
life. She's 177 years old now, the queen.
She's 97.
97 years old. That's what a good life does for you.
Yeah, and what's his name? Philip, right? Is Philip, it her husband?
Philip, the guy, the Epstein guy. Jeffrey Epstein guy.
No, that's Andrew.
Proud, yes. Yeah. Philip was her husband.
Yeah, Philip is 99. The queen is 97. Is he alive? Yes, he is.
Get out of here.
I swear to God, they're still alive, still hanging on. So it just, I wonder sometimes if Prince Charles if he ultimately ascends to the throne,
sure,
it's going to be pretty short for him. And then you got his son William kind of hanging there. And there's been some that have said that Charles might step out of the way and just let William.
Nah, he won't do that. Yeah, he won't. It's he gets to wear a crown. I'm sure he's looking forward to it, and he gets to put on that big robe like a superhero and prance around it's all pomp and circumstance. Yeah. I'm sure he's waiting for her to get out of the way and ascend to the throne and I guess Camilla won't be queen. That doesn't happen. She might be queen.
I think
she would be queen. Yeah. I don't know, but because Philip wasn't king, he was Prince Philip.
Right. Correct.
Which makes no sense to me. I should bang on this table. I'm sure it's going to fuck up the.
No, it's okay. And I want to just right in the middle take a break. Donna, you can let and Greg if people need to walk back and forth, they don't need to tiptoe and pretend like they're.
Yeah, we want
stay out of the scene.
To look like a working.
This is a working operation here.
Right.
All right, so let's shift gears a little bit.
Okay.
We've covered the royal family probably as far as we need to right now. So I guess the general takeaway from your perspective is it's all good for show and tourism and stuff. But when you look to political leadership in the United Kingdom, oh, that's wonderful. That's good. See, we screwed up. Okay, can somebody bring me a paper towel or something because I just spilled my coffee? That's a good way to start. But we're going to keep that in.
We're going to keep that in because it's unfiltered and raw.
That's right.
And that's what we do.
I don't know if anybody heard me say that, though. Is anybody wearing headphones out there to be able to bring me something here? Because I spilled my coffee all over the table. There we go. Take your time, please. It's just...
that was... I didn't know how to react because I thought maybe we're going to cut or we're not. We're going to leave that in.
No, we're going to leave that in. That's all part of the show. We're going for a real feel here.
I was about to make a really good point about something.
Right.
And I can't remember what it was.
I was asking you about the political leadership in the United Kingdom of Great Britain and what you guys actually look at. And we were going to talk about Boris Johnson.
Boris Johnson.
Donna, thank you.
Thank you, Donna.
You're welcome.
That's fantastic. Hold on. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. See? I feel like it's probably, this is a good luck sign, right? You know,
I think
during our
so.
first episode,
I think so.
Chris spills his coffee all over.
There you go.
That's
Getting a nice polish.
All right, yep. Got it on the carpet.
Lovely.
There we go. Sorry, Donna. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Donna.
Lovely. Okay, so
Good times.
What about Boris Johnson?
Boris Johnson. I never lived in England. I moved way before he became like. I know he was mayor of London for a while. He's. I guess the equivalent of what a Republican would be here, so he's a little bit right of center.
Okay.
He's not. I don't know if he's very far right or politically. I know he's a conservative. You have the Conservative Party, and then you have the Labour Party. And I for the life of me can't think of the Labour Party leader right now. Isn't that amazing?
So it's similar to the United States in the sense that you got the
it's a bicameral system, yeah,
right.
absolutely.
Bicameral,
a two-house, yes,
yeah,
a system. We have the exact same setup because it was all based English law, American law, American politics was based loosely.
So
but the Americans,
of Representatives, but you had the House of Lords.
we have that.
Correct?
We have the House of Representatives. The equivalent would be House of Commons.
House of Commons.
And then you have the House of Lords, which will be the Senate.
Okay.
The House of Lords is an embarrassment, I think.
Really?
It's all guys with wigs and they're 80 years old. It's like a boys' club in there. I don't know if that's changed much, but yeah, it's House of Lords doesn't have as much power as the Senate does here. There's no, if there's a 50-50 split, the vice president has to be the tiebreaker. There's none of that stuff.
Right.
Pretty much if something gets pushed through, and if they have the majority in the Commons, it's pretty much a done deal. The House of Lords is almost it's a checks and balances system,
right? But it's a little bit more ceremonial and symbolic as well.
Yeah, the House of Lords part of it,
right,
is. But the House of Commons is the House of Lords. I believe that some of them do. I know the Speaker of the House wears a wig. When I was living there, it was Betty Boothroyd was her name.
Right.
The Speaker of the House, she wore a wig. But I don't know who wears one now. But yeah, so it's very. But the American system is they took that wholesale and they made it clearer. It's a better system here because there's a constitution, there's a Bill of Rights.
Right.
In England, everything's based on precedent and convention, and we have the same freedoms, but it's not all nicely laid out like it
in
is
a document that says here's who we are, what we stand for.
Unless you could, we have the Magna Carta, obviously, which started everything, the ball rolling. But it's similar system, but it's not as big a country. It's we have 60 million people. We have 350 million people. It's not not as much to manage. So to speak.
Is that what it is? 60 million.
It's like 60, 70 million, yeah.
In England.
In Great Britain.
Does that include, is Scotland considered a part of Great Britain?
Yes, it is. So Great Britain consists of England, Scotland, and Wales.
Yes.
The United Kingdom is England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland.
Northern Ireland.
Yes. So, but Great Britain is England, Scotland, and Wales. And
I think that's I think that's confusing for a lot of people. Like,
it is.
You have England.
A lot of English people don't know the
there's
difference.
England, which is just the country of England.
Mm-hmm.
So then there's Great Britain, which is England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland.
Great Britain is is just the three
on the island.
On the island of
the United Kingdom includes Northern Ireland.
Yeah, because it's a kingdom that is, I guess, united.
Right.
Or
and the Irish love that. Right.
And I know. When I was growing up, all we heard about was the IRA and the bombings and this and that. I don't know if there's been a ceasefire recently. I don't know if Jerry Adams is still head of the. I don't know.
I don't think Jerry Adams is anymore. But now the IRA though, they are from Ireland, right?
They are yes. They oppose the British occupation of Northern Ireland.
That's right.
Absolutely, and there's something to do with Protestants and Catholics. We're not going to. I don't know who supports who. I can't remember. I know the IRA are more Catholic.
They are Catholic, yes, from what I understand, because of course, the Crown was at one time Catholic and reported to the Pope until Louis the 14? No, not Louis.
Henry VIII? Maybe
Henry VIII.
Henry VIII, because he wanted to get divorced, and he created the. I remember this. the Church of England because he
Yes.
wanted to divorce his like fifth wife.
Catherine of his first wife,
His
Catherine
first-
of
his
Aragon.
first, and then the others he cut their heads off, which isn't
right.
funny, but
No, it's kind of funny, right? Like
it was
looking back.
yeah, isn't that amazing? Like he created his own
Could you
church.
imagine if that
so
should
he could get
happen now?
Well, you know,
Imagine if like now Trump left office and he's tired of Melania and he just takes her out back at Mar-a-Lago and has her head chopped
it's tremendous.
No, that's not okay. We're not endorsing.
No,
that
no,
in
no.
any
But
shape or
yeah, listen. But it's interesting that back in the day, yeah, he renounced the Catholic Church,
Yes.
created the Church of England, so he could get divorced
Right.
from a girl.
Exactly. Well, because she wasn't able to bear him sons,
That there was yeah.
and he only finally had one son on like the fourth or fifth marriage, and then that son died young.
Yeah.
And one of his daughters ended up taking over, if I remember correctly. But that leads us back to
Was it
Ireland.
7 wives or 8 wives? I can't.
No, I can't remember
Sorry.
if it was 5, 6, or 7. But
Divorced, beheaded, died. Divorced, beheaded, survived. There you go. That's how we remembered in England. Yeah, divorced, beheaded, died. Divorced, beheaded. The last one survived.
That's how they taught it to you in
That's how
school?
they taught it to us. Yeah, Henry VIII.
No shit.
Back in the day,
Wow.
the English history syllabus of Darren Franks. Everybody.
So Darren, we talked last time. You left England 20 some years ago,
Yeah.
ish, and you came here.
Yeah.
We're going to shift away from the British Isles, if you will, to here. And I was curious, and this is something I'm going to ask everybody on the crew here. You know, what was it that drove you into the field of marketing?
It's interesting because I was more into the field. I got into it through IT initially, but I was always kind of a creative person. So I think the mix of the technical part of it and the creative part of it was the appeal to me. So the first ever job I had was in 2000, and it was a long time ago, 13, 14 years ago. It was a pure SEO job.
Okay.
And it was mostly writing content, and I just happened to be good at the technical stuff as well, and that's how I got into the SEO part of things, and then I did some paid search, and then but I was always, I was around at the time when Google just started and social media just started. There was a time when social media wasn't even. My first interview, the manager I interviewed with, she mentioned the term social media. And I never heard that term before. I remember that. I never heard it. There was nobody heard of Twitter, but I didn't know what Twitter was. I remember all of this, and this is all it's still relatively new. This is why it's probably going to be federally regulated at some point because that's a whole other story. But yeah, it was just a fascinating field, and it combined some of my interests, the technical stuff, the creative stuff, and I'm glad I fell into it.
So all right, so let's divide that up, right? Because
Yes.
you said your first job was an IT job, but you were always a creative person. So let's talk about the creativity side first. Like as you were growing up, what in creativity was your thing?
I always liked English as a subject. Always liked English as a subject. Always liked writing essays, fictional essays. Always liked that part of it. That's always what I excelled at. I was okay. I liked math, but I didn't love math. I liked everything, but I liked the creative writing aspect. I always scored very highly in reading comprehension skills and creative writing. I was always good at that. But I always liked fixing things, and I like computers, and I like websites, and I always found that interesting.
Okay.
And that's why I got what was called an MCSE, a Microsoft Certified Systems Engineer. What do you call it? Wasn't a diploma. It was
like a degree of some sort?
Yeah. It was
certification.
It was certification, and I had a couple of jobs doing some IT stuff, which was okay. And then Google came to fruition, and then I got my first job at a interactive marketing agency, doing SEO, and SEO was relatively new because I had
in the States.
In the States, yeah, and I had little bits SEO. How do you optimize a website? Whenever you put a website live, it has to be optimized, and people didn't really know what that was. And I got hired to do that. I was an SEO specialist, and I became an SEO engineer, and then they made me manager of optimized services, and then I became digital marketing. I had a few other jobs, and then I ended up here.
So
yeah,
I'm curious to dig further into the reading comprehension / creative writing, because I did not know that about you. So was there ever a time in your life that you wanted to be a writer or to be able to utilize that skill set, like a writer, like a novelist?
I always wanted to be a screenwriter. I love movies. I love film. I always wanted to be a screenwriter, but I've always, I've always said this, and I know a couple of people that went out to LA and became. There's a buddy of mine out in California. He became an associate producer on this show called The Prophet, which
the guy who fixes businesses?
The guy who fixes businesses, yes. Yeah. And it's,
Mark
it's a
Lamonicus or
something like that. Yeah. But it's a tough business to get into. I said to myself, even if I wrote the best screenplay ever written, it will never get produced because it's a very, very hard business to break into. So to me, it just wasn't practical.
Right.
Getting to that thing, I needed to do something practical, and I get to incorporate some of that in what I do now. I get to write ads, ad copy. It's not quite the same thing, but it's again, it's more of a combination of the creative stuff. So yeah, I always wanted to be, that was my kind of dream thing, to get into film. But it's not a practical business to get. Being successful in that industry is like winning the lottery, And
so let me ask you this.
Yes.
So I did not know this about you, right?
Yeah.
That's why this forum is so great, and that's why we're starting. And I'm going to start with every one of our team members here, because it's an opportunity for me to learn something more about you, not only just to get know you better, but also just to
peel off the layers.
Well, I mean, my brain's already going right now. So here we are, we're doing this podcast, right? My goal for this year, and my one of my dreams for the business, and one of my goals for this year was to take what was essentially my idea when we moved into this space here.
It's a beautiful space.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The idea was, it really feels like it could be a working set.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's where we do our work.
Yeah.
But why not make this a set where we can actually produce all kinds of really interesting content? So
perfect.
A year ago, 9 months ago, when we all went home for COVID, that's when I started working around here, and I experimented with a talk show setup, and I just kept jacking with stuff until I got it to the point. But so we've ended on this as one piece of content creation, right?
Sure.
However, we've got the kitchen, which I want to do a show called The Galley. Where we're in the kitchen, cooking, drinking, hanging out, and we're talking like this.
Nice,
but in the kitchen, right?
Sure.
I want to do another thing called From the Corner, which is me in the corner with my guitars and amps talking about music.
Okay.
Not just me, us, any one of us, or any people that we want.
Yeah.
We've now got this whole area over here where we've got a stage set up where we're going to actually put on some stuff. So I'm saying all this to tie back to the fact that it was always your dream to be a screenwriter.
Sure.
As we move through this stuff, having somebody to be able to help us, not necessarily script it, but to provide written guidance and thought and creativity into what we're doing,
consulting
here,
kind of thing.
is I think a real
I would love that. I would jump on that opportunity.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So we've hit the point of our conversation.
There you go.
Now we're really dialing into stuff. So
there we go.
My goal this year is we just crank it out, right? So here we are, we're having our first fucking podcast. What do? I spill my coffee all over the place, make a mess. We're talking out the window like a bunch of bozos.
Yeah.
But I don't care. Like this year, it's just about doing it. And if we screw it up 100 times, that's okay.
But the reality part is what makes it interesting.
Yes.
Sometimes it's got to be, sometimes if
it can't suck.
It can't suck
repetitively.
No, but it's interesting to have these little things happen. It grounds it in reality a little bit. I think that's interesting. And we got to meet Donna as well.
Donna,
she was cleaning up but it was probably
not how she wanted to be introduced.
but however,
right, exactly.
It was an interesting. You couldn't write something like that.
No. So let me ask you. So, yeah, at one point in time, your dream was to be a screenwriter, right?
Sure.
So we're talking movies.
Absolutely.
Screenplays.
Yes.
Have you ever written?
Absolutely. Nothing produced, but in my in college, I took a screenwriting class, got an A. I think he was grading on a curve. I think most people got an A, but I mean, the writing is hard though. It's to craft a good screenplay, with the 3-act structure, with the inciting incident and all that stuff. The technical stuff is difficult, but the creative stuff I like. So
was there a particular genre, whether it's comedy or science fiction, or I
love comedy movies,
right.
But comedy movies are to me the hardest because it's either funny or it isn't.
Right.
There's no in between, and it has to. Jerry Seinfeld said, "Comedy. When you get up on a stage, you have to be great. You can't just be good, because any schmuck can get up there." And
I saw you jump up on the stage. I saw you do it. You were like, "Hey, let me see this," right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
but you gotta be great, and that's the. But is there anything specifically I'd like to? It's. I think I like all genres. I like a lot of the genres for a lot of different reasons. So. I don't know. Maybe something true crimey. I'm trying to think of the shows. There's this great show on Netflix. It was called Mindhunter. It was on for 2 seasons. It was about the beginnings of the FBI serial killer unit. It was the first time they ever used the word serial killer. So I love the crime and mystery and thrillers are always fascinating to me, and comedies. And dramas and that, everything. Everything basically.
And reality, yeah, exactly. Well, it's interesting. Yeah. So my first question, of course, being, how'd you get in? What drew you into this business? Now I understand much better. And then that led me to what would have been my second question, which is essentially, what's one thing about you that nobody knows, right? That I don't know if that
I'm a secret agent. I'm really something that nobody knows.
Well, I mean, not like a deep dark secret, but just something about you that people would be surprised to know. And actually, this screenwriting thing,
I guess that would be.
I'm surprised to hear that.
Yeah, really, yeah.
No, I'm not surprised.
I know what you mean.
From the perspective of, does it seem outside of who you are?
New information, yeah.
Right, but it's new information that I'm going, I didn't know that.
Absolutely,
that's really cool.
Yeah, but I always thought. To me, in the back of my mind, I think, am I just doing? Do I want to be a screenwriter because I love writing? I love movies, but everybody loves movies,
Yeah, but some more than others.
Some more than I like film. A cinephile, if you will, a film buff. So maybe that's part of it. But yeah, I think that's probably. But I think everyone's got a dream job. Some people want to be a fireman. Some people want to be a policeman. Some want to be an astronaut. Screenwriter or astronaut. Those are the two things.
All right. Well, I think I could probably help along the screenwriter.
Could you?
From a very introductory level here. So I think that's something that we need to continue.
Absolutely. Yeah. Especially we get into this more creative.
I want it to be. I want it to be something that is a real, true expression of our collective talents.
It's like a workshop. Is that how you like a creative think tank? A creative tank.
That's a creative tank. It's. I mean, that's one way to look at it, right?
Sure.
See, for me, when I was a kid, I used to draw and cartoon and doodle, so I was into art.
Did you?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
No, not seriously, just jacking around, but I enjoyed it. Like I just enjoyed
you noodle
drawing,
about
doodling.
with
And I love building stuff with Legos.
Okay. Yep.
And ultimately, when I got my first guitar, then it was just music and guitar really just. No, we're not wrapping it up right now. All right, they're trying to tell us to wrap it up. No, see, guys, I told you this is going to go until we're done.
Are we boring you?
Yeah. So, so that's what got me in was music, really.
Sure.
Music and playing guitar.
I get it, man.
Ultimately, playing in a band. That's what really drove my passion for creativity, and that's what drove me into the advertising field, because I figured I want to work in a field where I can put my creative skills to use, but I don't want to be some deadbeat fucking broke artist, bartending for the rest of my life. I didn't want, not that there's anything wrong with that. I bartended, was great, but I didn't want to do that for the rest of my life.
You got to pay the rent,
to support this dream. And so I got to a point where I was like, advertising is really the field where I felt like I could take creativity and business and learn and put them both together. So, you
Exactly.
know, fast forward 25, 30 years.
Best of both
here
worlds.
We are.
Yeah.
And
Exactly,
now
Chris. Yeah.
I'm building an audio production suite where I can go back and I can start taking my musical love and injecting that back into what we do here. So,
Yep. You mentioned you mentioned food over there, and you mentioned I should probably talk into the microphone. You mentioned food, and you mentioned music, and then and you know, music performance. You know, so these are all good things, and they're organic to what we're doing.
Yes.
You know, this is going to be, you know, it's like synergy. Is that two things intersect? I don't know.
Yes. And that's the desire, is to say, okay, here's who we are, right? We're creative people working in a business environment.
I think so.
You know, of course, I'm leading some of this from the perspective of I love music. I love food and wine and that experience. I love having these conversations. I mean, shit, if I could stay healthy and do my triathlon training, we could sit here every day and eat and drink wine, it'd be incredible. But I don't know that would be the best for any of our overall fitness levels. But to create this here and then share that with the world in any number of ways is what is my desire. And that's what we'll be doing this year. And that's what I need a lot of help with.
Yeah. And I think it's going to be a good adventure. I like this.
Great.
I like the ideas. This is good stuff. This is and it's a perfect setup. You couldn't ask for a better setup than this, you know.
We got lucky.
Who knew, you know, 5 years ago when this, you know, all this was, we'd be sitting in like a lawyer's office right now, you know.
That's what it was over
There's
here.
big stuff with carpeting and it looked, and now look at it. It's weird how stuff.
It's all developed and it's all come along just at the right time.
Beautiful.
For all of us. So
yes,
that feels like a more appropriate place to.
I think so.
To wind it down.
Yeah,
Darren, we're going to do this a lot more. I enjoy talking with you.
Likewise, Chris. It's been so fun. Yes, absolutely.
And
thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And I look forward to additional conversations.
Likewise.
About your creative writing ability, because I think that can be very helpful to us here.
Great.
So with that, we'll say episode 1 on deck.
That's a wrap.
In the can?
In the can.
On the deck. Nice job, Darren.
Thank you, sir.
Greatly appreciate it.
Nice having it. Thank you for having me. Thank you. Cheers.
With my empty cup.
Cheers. My invisible cup. Boom.
Oh. All right.
Good times.